welcome back to another episode of A State Aloud. I'm your host, Chris Jefferson here, and today I have two amazing guests. You've probably seen them in North Bergen. You've probably seen them at the North Hudson CNA. I want to say you've probably seen them coaching. You probably have seen them just doing a lot of things in Hudson County and just making a good representation for mental health, for physical activity, for getting out. Two well-accomplished gentlemen. Just kind of leading the way when it comes to this movement and throughout Hudson County and the northern portion. I'm super happy to have him here. I think you guys are going to have amazing information to share. Your stories alone are extremely inspiring. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I have Jeff and Coach Leo here, ladies and gentlemen. So, guys, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. How are you guys doing today? How you guys feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah?
Little cold, but we're good.
Little cold. That's right, man. Seriously, because Jersey wasn't like this a week ago.
No. Right?
Seriously, not at all, man. Seriously, I was up in Massachusetts. It wasn't even close to like this. It didn't even feel this kind of weather we were up there. So it's good to be back in Jersey, though. I think it's the holiday weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to speak with that, man. But no, I'm glad to have you guys here. Glad you guys are back. We just finished up a little shoot.
Excited about this.
You guys were looking fire out there, dressed up. I'm going to just say it now. You guys are probably the most well-dressed guests I've had. Louis Spears may be a little butthurt with me saying that, but you guys are definitely the most well-dressed. I appreciate you coming in like that. But let's kind of just dive into the show, man. A big reason I wanted to have you guys on was just the work that you guys do in the community. Like, I met you guys through the North Hudson Connection. And I know, Jeff, you lead that up. I don't know if you want to tell the people a little bit about what that does and what your role in it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the North Hudson Connection is a programming kind of organization that brings all resources in the North Hudson area together, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about any resource that provides any level of service to any person in the area. They come together. We are trying to break silos. We're trying to program things that we can do all as a unit. We're trying to get understanding of what everybody else is doing and seeing how we could collaborate together. And that's really the main focus of it, is connecting resources, man.
Absolutely, man. I definitely agree on that. I know, just since coming into my role, just being a part of a group, you guys there's a lot of hungry people out there wanting to work. And there's a lot of people that, like most people in society or even just cities alone wouldn't know about. So we'll definitely have the description that it connects down in there. Can anyone show up and join, or is it primarily just like service providers and organizations?
Yeah, so it's service providers and organizations, right, in the North Hudson area, providing services to North Hudson. What we saw was a little bit of a disparage because Jersey City, it has the bulk of the resources. Mm-hmm. And the North Hudson area is a composition of 5 different municipalities that really need a lot of more services. So bringing the North Hudson Connection together, man, it was just something that needed to happen, right? Because North Hudson needed more services.
Absolutely, man. And to your point, like you said, Jersey City does get the focus of a lot of what's going on.
Yeah.
Especially in Hudson County. I know a lot of the things that people host Jersey City, like they would say, it's convenient. You could take the train and like, light rail ain't that convenient. You're not gonna go a half hour down the Journal Square to get the stuff that you want. And it can be hard out here, man. But I'm definitely happy you guys are doing the work as well. Now, Coach Leo, my guy, you're here as well. Now, how did you get linked up in the process of this? Like, I know I met Jeff through North Hudson CNA. How did you get linked up with Jeff in this whole situation?
So me and Jeff met through a mutual friend that's in the field as well. Jeff had a youth program. I had a youth program going on, and she just thought we would work good together. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because Jeff just showed up in my gym one day, and I was about to close, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jeff," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And it was
Jeff. Hey, my name's Jeff.
It was supposed to be like a 5-minute thing, and we were there for like over an hour.
Jeez.
We talked about what we wanted to do. We was like, you know what? Let's do this together. We shook hands. 2 weeks later, we had a meeting with you guys. Yeah. And a month later, we got this program going. So it was like meant to be. It was really, yeah.
Seriously, I didn't even know it was that quick. Like, in my mind, I was like, oh, they had this planned like for a while. We're just showing up because we think this is dope. So y'all, this was kind of just almost like it was fate. You just came together, it linked up, and it kind of moved forward.
Perfect word, man. That chemistry was it was meant to be when it needed to be.
Yeah. Now, I kind of move forward a little bit. Now, Jeff, you are a licensed clinician, correct?
Yeah.
And you have 2 offices.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed social worker. I have 2 offices. one on 60th Street, one on 51st Street in West New York. The focus of the offices that I have is not only to provide services to people. I have a couple of therapists that are there. I also have therapists in the community that rent space there too.
Yeah. So being in that space, man, a lot of your work started out with mostly just adults. When you first got started, like what did your clientele first look like?
Children and families.
Okay.
Children and families were really the bulk of the the services that we were providing to the population that we were providing services to was children and families. Individuals, yes, we specialize in anxiety, trauma, depression, anything under that umbrella. Most of us speak Spanish, right? In my group, so especially in our community of North Hudson, right? There's a big Latino population.
Absolutely.
So providing services to them in Spanish, in our language, in our culture, providing a quality level of service to people that need it. But yeah, mostly with children and families to start off.
Absolutely. So the I would say the younger generation is where you saw more of a need.
Yeah.
When it came to providing those services. And now, for Coach Leo, was that the same for you when it came to just being in the boxing world and having your gym?
Absolutely. So I always gravitated towards the kids because they're the most eager to learn. I feel like the older people just want to get a little workout in.
Yeah.
I really wanted to focus on learning how to box and really teaching the arts. And I felt like the teens were like the ones that were really up to that.
So yeah, it was kind of fate then. You just kind of, everything fell on. There was no adjustment. So that brings me up to Chip, man. So I know a lot about the program. I think it's sick. Like, I could sit here and just talk about it. I'm not going to. I'm going to let you guys do it. Like, I guess, yeah, like, how did Chip, like, so you guys met, the chemistry was fixed. Like, Chip is a program, like, oh, you guys say it. So I know Chip involves both mentorship with mental health area and through sports. Like, what is a weekly or daily activity look like with you guys and your involvement? Because I know you guys get phone calls around the clock. It's not just then, but like, what does it look like for you guys, and what's your approach with Chip?
So pretty much we see the kids 2 times a week. The classes consist of fitness, boxing, meditation, stretching, nutrition, and education. So everything, all the tools that they need to survive in the real world. We want to teach these kids, this is what you need to become a young man. Manners. You know, there's a big problem with communication, especially with the boys. They can't even say hello. When they first came in, they wouldn't even look at each other. They were a room full of kids and they're all like not even looking at each other. Yeah. So when they come in, they got to say hello to everybody. When they leave, they got to say goodbye to everybody. And, you know, shake the hand. This is how you shake somebody's hand. You look people in the eyes. And we're giving them the confidence. A lot of them were like not in shape and like very insecure, and they would cover their face with their hair. Now they feel confident, you know, they express themselves better. They can say jokes and be funny and be themselves. And we're pretty much creating like a community, like a brotherhood where you come here and you be yourself and you're accepted, whether you have anger issues or depressed. We love you, we accept you, be yourself. You're angry, go punch the bag. And they feel like, oh, wow, I'm not being judged here. And now they talk to us about more personal things, and we're able to talk to them and teach them how to get over the obstacles that are bothering them today.
You know, when we started talking about this, right? He had an amazing name, right? Chip, character helps individuals progress, and I said, wow, that's perfect to what we need to teach youth, right? And what youth need in our community, and what we do with this group is, we create that fitness aspect that Leo just spoke about. Everything there is something so necessary for the growing youth. And then we also incorporate the aspect of therapy, right? So it's a therapeutic space where I'm in there with these kids, right? Like we're pushing them to go past what they feel that they can do, right? In a space that's personal to them, in a space that's safe. It's not a space where people are laughing at you. Right? It's not a space where people are competing against you. It's a space where everybody's pushing each other through that moment. And then I also incorporate the communication I have with all the parents. So we have a lot of communication with parents. We want parents to understand we are a branch to what they're doing. Yes. Right? We are part of their village, right? It takes a village to raise children. Absolutely. We go to their homes, we check out their rooms, we check out their environment. We have private, personal contact with the parents. Hey, if something's going on with your kid, tell us.
Yeah.
Right? We are a branch to this. We're part of the family here.
Literally.
And these kids look at us as role models because, Coach and I are two different people. But at the same time, we fuse together in the mentality and the work that we do. That's so important, man, for these kids. These kids, when I tell you some of these kids have created relationships with us that they probably never got to do before, because they come from sometimes single mothers, spaces with no family members, no role models, and they get to come here and they get to see us.
Absolutely, man. I think you made so many valid points in need about when it comes to the youth and not only all the pieces it takes to be self-sufficient in his world growing up as a young man, but also the environment that's needed, right? Yeah. So often you think mentor and you think, oh, they got everything. But we don't realize when they leave and they go home that, like, if you don't go home and what I teach you and reinforce, it doesn't matter. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other with that, man. And I think that's an amazing environment to create, to allow people to emotionally just process, understand. Because we live in a world now where, let's be honest, it's up until recently, communication and emotional intelligence as a man has not been something that's been accepted widely in our communities. Now, I mean, growing up in my neighborhood, predominantly black neighborhoods, I know for us, we were always the tough guys. In North Hudson, it's predominantly Spanish and Hispanic neighborhoods, if I'm saying that correctly. What situations do you see cultural-wise that you guys have to deal with in the North Hudson area that you have to kind of tailor your approach to that maybe you don't have to do someplace else?
So I think that the big cultural part is the parenting perspective, right? Because parents, if you look at traditional clubs and fitness spaces, it's like bring your kid there, pick your kid up, keep it moving. We incorporate the communication with our parents. And I think that's a big cultural aspect of it because especially within the Latino culture, it's hard to trust people. It's hard to trust one another, right? And it's hard for a parent sometimes to bring their kid to therapy, right? So when they're coming into a group like this, they don't always see it as, oh, this is something that's therapeutic. No, they see that these kids are being active. And then when we talk to them, they're like, wow, like these are real people. These are adult men that are influencing my young boys. They really love that part, right?
Absolutely.
We become part of the family, and I think that's the big cultural part that we get to influence.
Absolutely. I don't know if you want to anything to say, but I think that's huge, right? Where I see the pattern here, which is I think it's in many places, like you said, culturally, just building that trust, because we hear the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and in society now, some of these villages are one person, just one parent, a single mom household sometime, and to have that male role model come in and teach you things is key. Like I tell everybody every day, one of the main reasons I am who I am, like my mom raised me. She gave me everything I have to this day to get to where I am. But many of the positive male influences I had changed the direction of my life. To talk to me, to understand, to get to that level of understanding that my mom just wouldn't understand not being in that position, right? Like it has nothing that she's not capable of. She just doesn't live that type of lifestyle in society. And I think it's super interesting you guys go into their homes and look at their rooms because I feel like you guys probably embody that saying of how you do anything is how you do everything. To be that thorough with the youth is just an intensive place to be. So, I mean, do most parents welcome you guys with open arms? Are there some times where they're pushing back? I mean, I feel like not everybody might be comfortable coming like, I need to see your kid's room. Like what happens in that space, man?
I think there's spaces where the parents don't want us to see their room.
Hey, seriously, bro. They tell the kid clean it up. You look in their room and they're like, Mom, how you want to be yelling at them? It's not like that. So
as a father myself, I feel like kids are a reflection of their parents.
Yes, sir.
And I have a 16-year-old son. You would think he's my mini-me. My son is identical to me. And, I grew up without a father. My father passed away when I was 3. So when my son was 3 years old, I said to myself, man, I didn't have a father after this age. And seeing my son age, I realized how much I needed a dad. I'm like, man, dads are needed way more than what we get account for.
Yes, sir.
And I remember when my son was 2 years old, I was in a restaurant, and this older gentleman took everybody liked my son. My son had this strong stare, and everybody liked my son. And said, like, man, your son is an old soul. And he said, raise your son to be somebody you like. Sheesh. And I never forgot that. And I know a lot of parents be like, oh, I can't stand my son. I didn't want to not like my son. So wherever I go, my son was there. Like,
yes, sir.
He's seen everything that I've done since he was born. He's been next to me. And he does everything that I do. Everything that I do, he does. Every profession that I have, my son can do. You gotta teach him what I know. I can't teach him anything else. Yes, so everything that I know, he knows. The way that I act, he acts. The way that I talk. He even walks like me. And that's what character comes from. Yes, because a character in a movie, you're playing a role. So who do you want to be in life? How do you want to be seen? Wow. This is how I want to be seen. So if I want to be seen like this, what would somebody like this do? How would they walk? How would they dress? What would they eat? And even if you don't want to do it, you have to do it. That's your character.
Yes, sir.
And when you do it long enough, you are what you repeatedly do.
Sheesh.
Yeah, when we go to these parents' homes, man, you know, these parents sometimes they do feel a certain type of way about going to their rooms. But honestly, at least with what we've received, they're very happy to say, look, I've been trying to tell them to do this, that, and the third, right? And it's like we immediately are that puzzle piece that was missing to their home.
Wow.
Right? Because we come in as two men, we're kind of tall, right? We're coming in there, right? Right? We're going big guys, we're coming in there. And I feel like the youth are like, oh man, mom has backup.
Yeah.
You know, and when we get to see the fathers, even better, because then it's like dad as well. I grew up with a single mom, you know, and not having a father. My first father figure came along when I was like 6 or 7. He was an uncle of mine. So I know that having a role model, having male role models is really important, especially to our youth.
Absolutely.
That don't have it.
Absolutely, man. I think you guys made like so many like impressive points about that experience. As growing up as a young man that didn't have a father in the household, I liked when you said like, teach your son to be someone that you like. And I think what most men, no matter what you do, you're teaching your son who to be. Whether you make it intent to teach him good things, or you say, you know, I don't care, I'm going to do me, good luck to this kid, you're still teaching him things. Always. And I think we don't realize that and not just as men, but as parents, you're teaching consistently. All the time, whatever you do is what they're learning and how to be for most of their life, right? Especially in the adolescence age. So like you said, like both the three of us came from like mostly predominantly single parent households. And you said you had a male figure come up a little older. For both of you, what was some of the biggest hurdles you kind of faced? Once you got older, you realized was a hurdle that you faced when you're younger, and how'd you overcome it? As a young man, of like learning things about how to be a man in life, like how'd you kind of cope with that with not having that role model in your life immediately?
So I had my grandfather in my early age, and I grew up in the Dominican Republic to the age of 8. And my grandfather, when my father died, we moved in with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a farmer and a butcher. So at 5 years old, I'm planting seeds, watching them grow and eating them, you know, killing chickens, getting eggs, and, you know, all I did was play in the woods, in the farm, and I grew up with nature. So I'm used to being in dirt and climbing trees and eating fruits. So I had a totally different upbringing that these kids don't get here. So when I got to the United States, I came to Jersey City, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I can't leave this block. What do you mean? Like, there's nothing here but buildings. Yeah. And I felt like I was in prison. Wow. But my mind was already made because I was 8 years old. So I kind of adapted with time to the United States, but the farm boy is still in me. So whenever I feel like I want to balance myself, I'll go anywhere where there's a tree or some dirt, and I feel like I'm back there. Wow. And I think that's something very important because you tell a lot of kids, oh, let's go to the park. Oh, I don't like grass. I don't like trees. And I'm like, what?
I don't want to walk. Like, what do you mean walk to the park?
Climb a tree? What's wrong with you?
Right? Let me sit in here, yo. Nobody's climbing trees on TikTok. What are we doing?
I think for me, you know, I grew up with very strong women. My grandmother, you know, raised 8 kids, you know, alone. My mother was 19 when she had me. So she had to work a lot to get me to be by her side. She had to leave me when I was 3, and I was in Peru, and I came here when I was 6. So my mom had to really, we're talking about a 22, 23-year-old young woman here.
Yeah.
Had to work her ass off just to get her kid to the U.S., right? Because she didn't want me to cross the border.
Yeah.
She wanted me to actually go through a plane. And it was just so much harder at that time, you know, for a young person like her to make enough money to even get that process done. It was a very, very serious process. And it was very expensive. But I grew up with very strong women. When I was about 6, 7 years old, my uncle came along through my aunt's boyfriend. And we're talking about this Puerto Rican man from the Bronx, right? But the guy was so straight edged. He didn't smoke. He didn't drink. You know, he cursed like he was from the Bronx. But the attitude that he had was always very straight edged.
Yeah.
Right. And I had an uncle that was present as well, but I didn't really see him. But he was also very straight edged. I've never had a male figure in my life show me alcohol, show me smoking, you know, show me partying. Like the male people in my life, even though they were from a distance, were always people that I could look up to and say, all right, these guys, even though they're about themselves, you know, they weren't really interacting with me as much, except my uncle. My uncle would bring me like toy model planes and stuff, and we would do that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, these were the people that got me into a place where I'm like, wow, you know, I can look up to somebody outside of just the strong women in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that really started getting to a place where I started thinking about what I'm going to do in the future, right? I was always the kid that I just looked at everybody. Why is my life so different?
Yeah.
Right? Like I just looked at everybody. I remember being in a school bus and I just looked at people like, oh man, that kid has a dad. Right? Like, oh, that kid has brothers and sisters, you know, and I just always like looked and just analyzed people so much. And I think that was the beginning of me getting into like the psychology field.
Sheesh, man. And I mean, you led me perfectly into my next question was like, how did you guys have very like strong backgrounds and experiences where you had strong male figures, whether they were directly present or just kind of in your life there? And that was my big part of my question. Like, at what point, or was there something that happened, but what was that point in your life where you were like, okay, I want things to be a little different. I kind of want to figure out where I want to go. What does that look like? And what did that feel like in that moment?
I feel like for me, I had a good childhood, but I was also robbed of my childhood a little bit because I was raised by a lot of women too, a lot of my aunts, and they're very strong women, and they treated me like a man, but like not like in a negative way. Like if I was the man of the house, like I couldn't talk like a little kid.
Wow.
And it wasn't like they wouldn't tell me don't talk like that. They just wouldn't acknowledge me unless I spoke how they expected me to spoke. Like if I didn't hold the fork in a certain way, I couldn't put it in my mouth. So like you have to eat like this, you have to sit like this, you have to talk like this. So I was acting like an adult since I was like 5 years old because you can't embarrass us.
Yeah, yup.
And because I was always passed around like, oh, can you watch them here? So they had to do things. So it's like sit there and don't talk and don't move. And you know, back then they weren't diagnosing people, but I would have been diagnosed with ADHD because I was so hyper.
Yeah.
So I had to be like, man, I have to obey because, you know, our generation, we had to obey. Like there was no like, do what I want.
no, there was consequences to your actions back in the day.
But I learned that if I do what they tell me and I do it good, then they will take me places. So I got to travel and explore if I behave. So I learned to be a good assistant very early. So it's like, oh, we like having Leo around because he gets it quick.
He'll help out.
So, I will do all the heavy load for everything.
Yeah.
But I didn't care because it got me outside the house. Because if not, I had to be home.
Yeah.
Because, I'm going to get kidnapped or anything like that. So it's like, you know what? I got to be good at everything. Plus, my house was the place where everybody came. So I had to be a host.
Oh, wow.
Oh, go get them coffee. Oh, do this. So I learned to greet people and cater to people very young.
Wow.
So catering to people is super easy to me because that's all I ever done.
Wow.
I've been babysitting since I'm 10 years old. I babysitted with my cousins.
Wow.
So I've been changing diapers since I'm a kid.
Sheesh.
So I grew up very fast.
Yeah.
Which was good and bad in a way.
Yeah, man. So it did that because you said like you learned to be a good assistant early, and I know being in the boxing gym, you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to take note of what's going on, adjust quickly, and use the information that they're giving you in what you're doing. Do you feel like that upbringing kind of helped you through your boxing journey?
Absolutely. All my coaches love me. Like, I never had to pay to go to any gym. Just, you tell me what to do, and I won't even ask you why. Like, I'll just do it. Even if you tell me, jump out that window, I will go jump out the window because you're my coach and I'm here to listen to you.
Wow.
So
man.
people like that. So, adults, especially my generation, the what do you call not the boomers? The boomers?
The boomers?
Oh my God, he does what I tell him to do. That's what they love. Like,
Yes.
for the youth to listen to them. So they love me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, when did you start boxing? Did you start at a young age? You started older?
I wanted to box since I was 8 years old. My mom was against it completely. So I remember in the Dominican Republic in the 80s, I saw Marvin Hagler on TV.
Okay.
And he just looked like a badass dude. He was ripped.
Yeah.
He would mess people up. And I'm like, man, like I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And, my mom was like, no, that's too brutal. So when I was 16, I started doing paper routes. And I forged my mom's signature and I joined a kickboxing gym first.
Oh, nice.
With Vicio. I don't know if you heard of Vicio.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So he's a really famous fight-time world champion. I started training with him. I trained for like a year.
Wow.
Then I lost my job and I couldn't afford it. And then I heard about boxing through a friend.
Yeah.
And I never done sparring or anything, just with my friends in the park.
Yeah.
The first time I got in the ring, I knew that was it for me.
Wow,
like this
man.
is what I need in my life.
Wow.
And I just fell in love with it. Yeah.
Seriously, and it sounds like everything you had that you were introduced to in your life kind of led you to be successful.
Absolutely.
The work ethic when you were young, able to take instruction well and to listen, to be a good assistant, to be patient. And the thing, because in the ring, you got to be patient. If you come out hot, good night. You're going to sleep.
Yeah.
So that is super interesting, man. And even like you said, kind of being the leader, and being the man of the house, gives you those strong attributes to be the mentor, to be the teacher, to kind of guide in it. Do you, like, when you're doing the work now, do you kind of see bits and pieces of that come out and
Absolutely,
work with the kids?
but I fought against it. So because I was so responsible as a kid,
Yeah.
I got kicked out of my house when I was before my junior year, the summer before my senior year started.
Yeah.
So I was homeless for 3 days.
Sheesh.
I moved in with my best friend for like a month.
Yes.
And then I was just living in rooms and I had to get a job. So I was working and going to school. So I ended up dropping out before I graduated just because I just hated my life. I was angry. So I wanted no responsibilities. Like, all right, I have nobody overlooking me. I don't need to impress my mom. I'm going to do what I want. So responsibility always lands on me.
Yeah.
But I run from it. But it's like nothing ever worked out for me until I accepted my role because leaders are chosen. And, when shit hits the fan, everybody looks at me to handle it. Like, I don't even want to be there. Why are you choosing me? I don't want to do it. But it's like, with time, I realized that, you know what? This is what I'm meant to do. And let me do it because I have the ability to do it. I have the responsibility to do it. And, it took me a long time to accept it.
Yeah.
The moment I accepted that, my life changed overnight.
Yeah, man, because that's heavy, especially being young, where like you feel, I guess, like you at any point did you feel as if like as you're supposed to do these things, like you're supposed to help fix, you're supposed to help make things better? Like, was that like a big part of who you were, even if it wasn't necessarily in your involvement?
Yeah, so I've been a massage therapist for over 20 years. And since I was a kid, people would be like, oh, my arm hurts. Here, touch it. And you know, I didn't even know what a massage was. I never even heard the word massage.
Yeah.
I would, my feet, and you know, I would, you know, and they would just feel better when I did it. And
Yeah.
it wasn't till in my late teens I dislocated my shoulder like over 20 times.
Jeez.
And
Yeah, I'm sitting here like, yeah, wow. Okay.
I got surgery.
Jeez.
Then 6 months later, my other shoulder dislocates. My coach was like, "You're done." I cried, and I went dark, man. So I went from I'm gonna be a professional boxer to like I'm in the streets, like I hate everybody. Like
Yeah.
you know, this is all I have, and you take
it away.
You know, I
from
felt like
you.
God was punishing me,
Yeah.
and I was really, really angry. And I went dark, man. I went dark, but I will always come back to boxing. Like whenever I knew, you know, because they instilled God in me very early. So I grew up in a very religious family. So I had the fear of God. Even though after I got kicked out of my house, I kind of like turned my back on God. I said, you don't back me up, so I'm done with you. But I had to go through that to understand that, oh man, no. God is real.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
when I
yeah.
met the devil, I said, God, please, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get another surgery. So I just started looking for books on anatomy and I started teaching myself. And I realized that I messed up my shoulder because of ignorance, bad nutrition, not stretching, not working out properly, overtraining.
Wow.
And one thing led to another. I met somebody that went to school for massage therapy. I said, show me how to do a massage. And she showed me how to do a Swedish massage, just like I taught her in school. So I started doing massages from the age of 20. The first year I did a massage every day, at least one person every day for free. And I said, when I do a massage for a whole year, I'm going to start charging. So after a year,
Wow.
you're talking about like 600 plus massages that year.
Jeez.
I started charging. And then 2 years after is when I decided to go to school and get certified. So I never had a massage done on me.
Yeah.
So I didn't like people touching me.
Yeah.
So I had to get massages in
Yeah.
school. And my back was messed up. I just didn't know it was so messed up. So when I got off that table, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is how people
seriously.
feel when I work on them?
No wonder they want to come.
So I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I remember I bought a massage chair and I made business cards and I went to a lot of businesses on a Wednesday and I said, I'm gonna be coming around Friday doing massages. And that Friday I made $500.
Wow.
And you know, this was like in the early 2000s. I'm like, that's it. This is what I'm gonna do. And I just became really good. So what I will do is I will find places that had like good therapists and teachers and I said, can you show me? And I'll work for free.
Wow.
So everybody said, yeah, absolutely. And because I'm so good at helping other people, they loved me.
Wow.
But I will stay there until I learn everything I could. And then I just gather everything from everybody. And then I just created my own style. And that was a wrap after that.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. Like, to be willing to do things for free for knowledge, realizing that the knowledge is the true value, like, to realize that delayed gratification is such a key at a young age is crazy. Yep. And even to your point, Jeff, when you said earlier, like at a young age, you realize like having men around you that were good examples and being observant of your environment at such a young age, you were like, okay, what do I want to do and where I want to go? Like, to me, that's mind-boggling because like at my age now, to have the awareness I have, I'm like, oh, I worked on this. I'm fortunate for it. But I do believe like there are those that have that at a young age, and you guys sound immediately like it. Like it just sounds like I'm gonna use the word wild for lack of better terms because I don't know how to explain it. But Jeff, like you said, you knew at a young age you kind of were looking for what you want to go for. Like when you started that search, when you kind of started to understand like something's a little bit different. I'm kind of curious. Yeah. Like what direction did you go in, and how did you go about like just kind of finding what was for you?
Yeah, you know, growing up with the type of family that I did, you know, I was poor and I never knew it, right? So I never got hand-me-downs. I always had fresh meals to eat. I always had, you know, new clothes to put on. You know, whether they were from Payless or from sales or whatever, but I always had something, right?
Right.
And it was tough because I had a young mom, right? And I think it was really hard growing up in the type of environment that I did because of my family. And I grew up with a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues. Yeah. ADHD, absolutely. And I was not like a good kid all the time. You know? And I think everything was not something that made me feel good in my life. I moved around a lot, so I didn't really get to make good friends. You know, my mom moved around. She got with my brother's dad, and it wasn't until my brother was born. My brother was born when I was 11 years old.
Yes.
Right, and I said to my brother, and I said to myself, I'm like, man, I got something to live for.
Wow.
Right, and I got something to influence, and I have to do something. Right, I had no direction really, but I had to do something. My brother's father was a pretty successful IT person, and he brought us to like the first house that I've ever been in, right? Because I lived in Queens and apartments all the time. I was like, wow, like this is cool.
Yeah.
And he was smart, you know, and he knew about computers, and I started learning about computers just to impress him, you know. And I said, all right, you know, I guess I gotta go to college, right? Because like I'm the first one in my family to even do so. My family was very much like, okay, my mom was very much, all right, you know, either you're going to be a lawyer or you'll be a doctor, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I went to William Patterson for pre-med, and when I tell you I got a 1350 on my SATs, at that time, that was okay. I was pretty good, you know.
It's really good.
and I remember my guidance counselor said to me, you should go to community college, right? And it was just like, well, I don't want to go to community college. I don't want to stay by my house,
Yeah.
you know. I want to show my brother something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into Penn State. I got into Montclair. I got into William Patterson. I got into University of Sciences in Philadelphia, right? But I knew nothing about these schools. Nobody was really there to guide me through it.
Yeah.
I remember going to Willie P because of a girl, right? A girl was like, "Oh,
It's always the girls,
I'm going to
man.
Willie P."
It's always the girls.
I'm like, "Where's Willie P? It's an hour from here. All right, cool. Let's go." Right?
Oh man.
And that's when my education journey started.
Yeah.
Right. And in school, I was like, "All right, I got to do this thing called college, but I have no idea."
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was, you know, I think my ADHD, my hyper focus allowed me to learn things pretty fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to study, right? I didn't know how to really understand what I was doing.
That's intense.
You know, in college, I was into a lot of leadership stuff
Yeah.
because that's what I was good at, right? Studying wasn't really my big thing.
Yeah.
I coasted by. I did the best I could. You know, I graduated in a pretty great way with my major, but I didn't know psychology was a thing.
Wow.
Like to this day, my family doesn't really understand what I do.
Yeah, because how did you go from like saying like I was learning computer science to impress them, get into these colleges, first off, just to clarify for those out, 1350 on the 1600 point scale, right?
Well, no, I think at that time it was like 2,400.
Okay, because I remember the scales being different.
It wasn't great
on the scales.
I mean, it was pretty good. Like I got into the
because you got into the schools, and those are all really good schools. So how did you end up going? Did you major in computer science?
No. I actually got when I got into Willie P. I went pre-med.
Oh yes, you did say.
I was a biology major.
How now? Physical body operations to the mind. Yeah. What was the click, the aha, like, okay, I want to go back for this.
Yeah. Well, go back for what?
No, what was to become to get into the field of like mental health in the mind and things like that. Like to go for biology, what was the transition like in that field?
I failed biology 3 times.
Okay, all right.
Right? Like again, I never knew how to study, right? I was my mom, if you ask her, I was the smartest kid in the world, right?
Yeah.
Because she never knew I was getting bad grades sometimes because I would forge her signature.
Yep.
I would change the grades. I would cheat a lot sometimes, you know. But the classes I was great at, I was great. Like science and math, I could do that with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
So when I got into college and I saw how hard it was, I knew I couldn't fail. So I kept trying. And biology, I kept trying. The third time I didn't fail. The third time I got a C, you know, because I couldn't fail. I didn't want to fail it.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't know it was anything else. And then I stepped into the room of a psychology class. I was like, wow, what is this?
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with any of this influence. I didn't know what was available to me.
Yeah.
And when I went to a psychology class, I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
I did abnormal psychology. I changed my major. I got into psychology.
Wow.
And I loved working with kids. I've always loved working with kids. And I remember leaving college. I joined a fraternity called Lambda Sigma Upsilon. It was a Latino fraternity incorporated. And I met Lenny Martinez,
Wow.
right? Lenny
Yeah.
Martinez, who's one of my frat brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I graduated college, I said, I don't know where to go, right? These are my men. These are the people that are guiding me.
Mm-hmm.
Lenny's like, look, there's this. I would take you to DCPNP, but there's this place called Family Resource Center, Catholic Charities, right? It's hard for them to hire as bachelors, but I think you would be good.
Yes, sir.
I met my first supervisor, Gilmore Garcia. And in college, I worked in schools. I worked as a mentor. Like, I did little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But doing that career, I was like, oh, man, like, mental health is a thing,
Yes, sir.
you know? And I remember going from there to DCPNP, right? Because I was always trying to pursue some other way of understanding this knowledge of mental health. I started seeing my community in a completely different light. I was like, wow, people growing up even worse than I did.
Yeah.
I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
And I started working for Hudson North, and then Hudson North had a program where if you gave 2 years to the division, you were able to go to your master's for free at Rutgers, right? You get a master's social work for free. 2008, August 2008. What happened during that time? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the year. But what happened during that time was New Jersey went into a depression. Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
Right? All the programs were taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started remembering the people I started talking to. And I remember one of my mentors in Catholic Charities said to me, NYU is the best clinical program in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I said, man, I'll never get into NYU. You know, I was never really that great at grades, right? So my grades in Willie P., there's no way I was going to get me into NYU.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. Now that the program was taken away, 3 years into DCPNP, I was going to get a free master's.
Yeah.
So if I was going to pay for it, I was going to try to go to the best place I could go.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, I'm going to apply for NYU. If I could get to the best clinical program,
Yeah.
and I want to bring mental health to this community that I've been working in since I graduated,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to do that. And I remember getting the acceptance letter and just being in complete shock.
Yeah.
Right? Like, NYU is not a place where I was supposed to land in.
Mm.
You know? Like, it wasn't where I was supposed to go. And when I got that acceptance letter, I was like, wow.
Seriously, man.
I got to really focus now.
Jeez.
And I think being in that atmosphere it's a complete culture shock. Because everybody there is high level.
Yeah.
I got to step it up. I remember, man, I would fall asleep in the library because it would be so hard for me to read. You know, it was just a lot of work. And I said, man, if I get out of this program, if I graduate, I'm gonna do something with mental health.
Sheesh, bro. That's like, bro. Like I have so many questions on that because like that feeling, that phrase you said, like I'm not even supposed to go here. Like you were constantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Disproving the beliefs you had in yourself over and over. And if anybody's ever tried that, that's not easy. It's almost like you're going against what your mind is telling you. You're like saying, no, that feeling, that's a liar. I'm gonna keep going anyway. I'm gonna prove it to you. Like
And our community.
yeah,
Our
and your
community's telling us
community.
that.
You're right. The community tells you. The media could tell it to you. Different avenues. Your family could tell it to you. Some people out there as well, right? Like I want to continue the story, but I gotta ask, like, what was the driving force that you used to kind of just be like, nah, even if I don't belong here, I'm going to be here. I'm going to keep pushing. Like you said, when you weren't going to fail. Even when you failed biology, you're like, I'm not failing this. I'm going to keep going. Where did that work ethic, where did that drive, or whatever you want to call it, stem from?
Yeah, I think my family, right? My family was the big part, right? Because I had a grandmother that really believed in me. Mm-hmm. I had a mom that like needed me to succeed through her hard work. Mm-hmm. I had aunts who really believed in me. I was the only kid for 11 years, you know? So I had a system of family that really believed in me. I think that pressure said to me, I can't fail. Like there is no option to fail. And when my brother came in the mix and I was like, damn, like somebody's now looking up to me. right? In high school, we used to wear some of the same clothes, right? Like I was always with him. I was with him every day.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, wow, I got to do. There's no way I could fail now.
No way.
Right? Like I can't go back home and tell my brother I didn't get it done.
Wow. Yo, that's so heavy. That's so heavy to have that feeling at that age, to have the I don't want to say the pressure, but almost have the success of your family being on your shoulders, like realizing like my family, everyone that's been a part of my life has been raising me and pushing me and putting energy into me to be where I am. Like I can't fail. To show them the love and respect for their time and energy, I got to keep going with it. So please,
even if you're dragging yourself through the
oh
floor,
my
like,
God, please tell me, bro.
There's no way, man. There's nothing. When you put yourself in a place where it's like, I don't know how to succeed, but I'm just not gonna fail. Right? It's just something's gonna come from that. Right? It may not be the best thing possible, but it's gonna be better than you were the day before.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's, I feel like if people put themselves in, especially our youth, man, because I think our youth, society and families tells them you're not gonna win. You're in a position where you're not gonna do anything with your life.
Yeah.
Right? But if you could keep in your mind, man, I may not succeed, but I will absolutely not fail.
Bro.
Change.
That is life changing, because that's like, the funny thing is, for the longest time, I used to ask myself, what was that difference of those that are willing to forego gratification for a later date for something bigger versus those that want it now? And I think that's literally the key. Saying, okay, I can take this easy route and get this right now. It may not be what I want, but at least I'll get it now. And then there's those that say, you know what, that's not guaranteed. I may not succeed to that guarantee, but I'm definitely not going to fail and give up and just settle for this. I'm going to keep trying, and I know I'm going to end up someplace better. That, bro, to me, that's one of the things I've been trying to understand and process for the longest time. And to hear it in the way in which you shared that, it puts such a clarity on that observation, because it really boils down to a curiosity of, well, what would happen if I kept going? Mm-hmm. Like, this sucks. I'm in a library. It's 2 a.m. I'm tired, bro. But what happens if I got up tomorrow morning and did it again?
Yep.
What happens if I kept pushing, if I kept practicing and kept lifting, I kept boxing, I kept going to the gym and learning, I kept grinding, I got up at 6 a.m. and ran every day? What if I kept going? What would happen?
Yep.
And you hear that a lot with a lot of people that succeed. I know David Goggins was big on that. Mm-hmm. People would ask him, like, you do these hyper marathon races, you came from such a tough background, what kept you going? And he said, well, what would happen if I kept going? My body's telling me to stop. What would happen if I take another step? What's going to happen? I'm already in pain. Might as well keep going. Let's see what happens next. And I think that curiosity is what keeps people driving. And they used to say what? It was hope. Oh, you need to have hope. And then, like, some people say you don't need hope, you just need curiosity. That tomorrow can be better. If I keep going, it'll be better than today. I'm going to keep going, man. And that just hits the nail on the head, man. And I think what really grasps me about that is both of you have shared how that strong foundation at a young age lays there. Strong family, strong friends, strong everybody, whether you moved around a lot or you were the only child for 11 years, having that strong foundation of people that's like, we're going to pour into you. We may not have all of it. We're going to give you the best that we have. And then you can go do what you want with it. And we hope it's great on it, man. So, I mean, I know there's more to the story. I want to keep going. So
we made a lot of mistakes. Yeah, right? There was
that's
so many mistakes in our lives.
Seriously,
I know
bro.
I can share with Leo.
Bro,
so many mistakes, but we made it.
Seriously. So you graduate. I know you didn't graduate and go right into your own practice where you are now, man. Because let's be honest, there's not a lot of men in this field right now that are succeeding. It's needed, but there's not a lot of men diving into the field. Like, so what was your experience from getting out of college to building where you now? Did you find that there was a lot of opportunity for you to come on, or was it kind of an uphill battle?
I think my experience graduating from NYU with a master's in social work was, you're a social worker, though.
Oof.
So you're supposed to make $45,000 a year. right?
That's that passion. You
And
love this work,
you
so we
love
don't have
this
to pay
work.
you for it.
And I remember, man, working at the agency I worked in, and when they told me that, I was like, my education was more than $200,000.
Sheesh.
How am I going to make 45 a year?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
You know, I think the hustle was always something we're familiar with.
absolutely.
So I came back to Jersey through a couple of friends. I got into an agency in Jersey City, and I became a director for an agency with about 150 employees.
Wow.
Right? I created a parent mentoring kind of format for DCP&P, for the Division of Child Protection and Permanency at that time. It was called DIFUS. And it was just me leading a team, building offices.
Yeah.
I never knew I was into business, by the way. I never knew. I was like, I graduated with clinical social work. I'm supposed to be a therapist.
Yeah.
But I like business.
Yes, sir.
Right? I like creating, right? And I got that from high school, but I'm like, wow, I like this part.
Mm-hmm.
And it paid the bills way better. I mean, I got in there. I got recruited to be the director of an agency, a home care agency, that was specifically doing social work type things for, I'm talking about $70,000 to $80,000 a year, right? With my master, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, right? I'm an NYU graduate. That's where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
You know, not $45,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
So to get double, right, at an agency that I wouldn't be doing half as much as I was doing there. If anything, I created my own work
Yes, sir.
because I opened up multiple offices because of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I stayed there for about 4 or 5 years, learned what I needed to do, and then I met the mentor of my life, Rocio Day. You know, may she rest in peace. She trained me to be a clinician, right? She trained me to be a therapist. You know, and I created a business with her by my side, and then continued her legacy and continues the legacy of what it is right now. But that was because I left my director position. I'm like, I got a license. I'm not even getting my hours. I'm not doing anything with this, right?
Yeah.
But because nobody's gonna pay me, you know, and I don't want to work $50,000, $60,000 a year. Like I can't afford life that way.
That's right.
So when I created, when I went with Rocio, think about this. I was at 80,000. I went with Rocio. I went down to 30,000 because I was creating a business with her.
Wow. Okay.
The difference was I get to do something that now I get to make.
Yes, sir.
I get to decide how big this is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm willing to put everything down on that. I'll cup of noodles that.
all day long, all day. So that's again I'm willing to sacrifice what I want now for what I want the most, and to be able to do that, and like God bless your mentor, man, because to see the work you're doing now to come from her teaching, just like I can only imagine how amazing that experience was, the things you learned were, and just everything that came together, man. And kudos to you for willing to do that sacrifice. I think people enough don't get a flowers. I gotta congratulate both of y'all on what you guys put together and the things that you do, because in your stories, like, you didn't come from backgrounds with huge financial support, huge backing, huge educational backing, like
support.
like you had to realistically come up from the mud. Like that's really what had to end up happening, and you made a lot out of a little. And it brings me to that one point you made where, like, you get into this work that is direly needed, yet you're not going to receive the pay for the work that you're doing, right? And it's almost like expected. Like, oh, you're mentoring youth? Yes, okay, we'll pay you part-time for your hours. But any mentor, anyone that works in this line of work realizes, like, this is not a 9 to 5. And when I go home, my phone's off and the world's good and I'm home. No, there's calls at 11 o'clock at night of stuff going on. There's calls Friday night, 7 o'clock, you trying to go out with your family to eat and your phone goes off and something's going down. And it's rare that that organizations are willing to pay you for that work. Like, I could sit here and ask you why, and we could debate back and forth, but I think it'd be a better question to ask you guys, what type of systems do you guys think we can put in place to support not just more men, but more people in the neighborhoods and the cultures that we work in to really get involved in this work, provide the support that's needed to actually get the result that like we want to see?
For me, for example, when you said, he said he had a mentor, I had a couple of people that I looked up to. But I haven't had one mentor that didn't disappoint me. Because, remember, you tell me what to do, I do it.
Yeah.
So when I became who I thought you were, I realized that you're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
You're not who I thought you were. I am who I thought you were. Now I gotta look. Now I can't respect you because you're a fraud.
Yeah.
So with my son, I never want him to look at me like, oh, I thought you were like this.
Yeah.
So with my son, he knows who I am, and I don't let my son beat me at anything. Yeah. And I tell him the day you beat me, know you beat the best.
Oof. I respect it. I respect it though.
My son got into wrestling. I never did wrestling. My son got into wrestling. He was getting really good. So I started going on YouTube videos and training like a wrestler. And, let's wrestle. And, and I got good at it. And it's like, you're not going to, I'm your challenge. Yeah. When you beat me, then you know you're good. And I'm very competitive with everyone in a healthy way. Yeah. Not like I won't cheat to, I'm going to beat you because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And if you beat me, then that's good because now I know I got to step it up. So for me, I practice what I preach. And how Tekashi says, "Come test my gangster." Yeah. Well, come test my godly. I'm really about this, and put me to the test, and I'm gonna back it up. And to me, that's big because the disappointment that I felt from my mentors, I don't want nobody to ever look at me with that disgust.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's what these systems need.
Yeah,
we need to create systems where people are not just talking a good game, but their presence.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't know many therapists that'll get into that space. I get in the ring. I get in the ring.
Yes, sir.
With the kid.
Yes.
Like I don't have many colleagues that would do those things, right?
Yes.
And it's like we need platforms, spaces that are willing to not just talk about the support, but are willing to get dirty with it.
Yeah.
Right? And actually go into it. We need, people in the Board of Education. We need the municipalities. We need the resources to start working together, right? And help us get into the room.
Yes.
Because if we could get into the room, and I think that's what the resources could be doing more of. If we could get into the room, we'll take it from there.
Yes.
Because we don't just talk the talk.
That's right.
We're there. We're present. We will walk the walk, and we will show what we say we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing more real than that. Than I remember when we're doing this CHIP program, a lot of what we're doing is mentorship.
Yes.
One of our youth calls us up 12:30 in the morning. Coach, I'm really feeling down. Something's really going on. I remember me and him on the phone the whole time, man. Mm-hmm. I roll up to his house at 12:30 in the morning. And I'm looking at this kid, and we're talking it out, and he feels better afterwards. And, he talked to both of us throughout the whole night. Man, I remember speaking to Lynn. I'm like, man, this is real.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is, like, we really signed up for something big.
Seriously.
And this is why things don't change, because I don't know many people that would do what we just did right now.
That's true.
And I think that's what resources need to get. That's how you support us, is by not just saying, hey, great job. Come on in. Tell us where to go. Put us down in a meeting somewhere.
Yes, sir.
That's what would help.
Ooh. It's heavy, man, because I heavily agree with you. Accountability, living by your word, putting in the work. Because you're right. There are a lot of people that sign checks, paperwork, bills, and laws that are not willing to come out here and do the work to fully understand it, right? Just understand it. Come out for a night.
Yeah.
Be on call for a weekend. Experience what we're going before you sign that piece of paper and make a decision that's going to affect the youth's life that we may work with, or whether or not a program that we're running that's helping kids is going to continue past a certain amount of time. I think that's a huge disparity, and it does allow for a lack of accountability, a lack of execution, and then it leaves people like yourselves that are doing the work, wondering how we're going to continue doing this. But
Absolutely.
I know the beautiful part is I know you're always going to find a way. I know you're always going to find a way. Like you said, there's no option to fail. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I definitely want to ask you guys, because I always want to, there's tons of people that I've met and you probably met as well that always ask about how to get involved in this work. If someone was just starting out, maybe they live in a community, want to help out, they're interested in working with youth, they have no clue, they've never been in mental health space and have been in mentoring space, what would be a direction that you would want to send them to get started?
I think I think when people are just coming in, understand that the resources in the community, they're not advertising on flyers or they're not advertising on TV commercials. Go to your municipalities, go to your community centers, go to your community colleges, right, and look at the flyers.
Yeah,
because we put flyers everywhere, right? Look up, West New York community and look at the tags.
Yeah, the libraries.
Right? The libraries.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? Because all of our flyers are around there, and ask somebody at a library, hey, I want to help you. Who should I call? I guarantee you they'll give you 10 numbers.
That's right.
And I go to a clinic and tell them, hey, I want to help youth. Where do I go? They'll give you 10 numbers, right? I think if people want to really help, so reach out to us, because like us as a resource, right? Because we're not advertising on commercials, and we're not advertising in big areas, so we're hidden a lot of the time.
Very true.
And people have to search for us.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I feel like just networking, I'm a person that I'm a bit invasive, not in a negative way, but if I see I could help you, I just have like a keen sense to know what's wrong with people, from physically to emotionally. It's like I could feel it. I'm an empath and I could feel it. So it's like if you're upset or you're sad or whatever it is, or you're in pain, I'm feeling it because I feel your pain. So it's like, bro, let me help you. And I say it in such a sincere way that you can't say no, because I mean it. So for example, like over 10 years ago, I met this guy and he was a chiropractor. He was going to school. So he said, I was just in your country, in the Dominican Republic. I forgot what they call it, but a bunch of chiropractors go to third world countries and they practice chiropractic in these countries that have no chiropractic, because chiropractic is only real in America. Everywhere else is voodoo, right? It's like, get out of here with that crap, right?
Yeah.
So I said, and they do it for free. And I was like, I'm going to go to third world countries and do massages for free so I can learn more.
Yeah.
So I will go to third world countries and I will go to the most poor towns. And I'll be like, give me 3 minutes and I'm going to help you walk straight. And they'll get on the floor on the sidewalk and let me work on them and be like, oh my God. And I'll work on everybody there and I'll be like a little celebrity there. Oh my God, oh my God. And I did that a lot. I got myself into a lot of trouble in some neighborhoods. But, man, God has always been with me. Like, I've been in situations that are crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just somehow I always get out of there unscathed. And it's because I really believe in God. And that my belief is so strong that I can't lose. So I put myself in position that, Leo, you're crazy.
Yes,
it's
sir.
like, nah, man, I'm good. Yeah. And the experience that I got is so vast. When I first started getting myself known in Hudson County, massage therapy wasn't really a thing yet. In the early 2000s, it was still like a taboo. You're thinking about, Asian parlors with happy endings, and it was like there wasn't that many male therapists.
Yeah.
But I was more into like sports therapy, like I'm like, man, like, so I was like, you know what? I got my chair and I will go to every barbershop and every beauty salon in North Hudson. Hey, I do massages, $1 a minute. Hey, I do it. Sometimes I will be there for hours and get nobody, because people are like, the women will be like, I don't want a guy touching me.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, I don't want a guy touching, right? So it was like, damn, right? But little by little, I got known. And then people with real problems like, man, yo, you're good. Boom. So now I'm really well known in Hudson County. Like, I've worked on so many people in Hudson County that everybody knows me for boxing, personal training, and healing. So I've been so consistent that it's like, bro, you got to go see Leo.
Yes, sir.
And I have so much experience, and I've worked with so many doctors that I know more than what I went to school for. So not only that I went to school for massage therapy, but, you know, with my travels, in the last 20 years, I probably worked on 40,000 people or more.
Wow.
That's a lot worldwide.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have those numbers.
No.
So it's like, I see you walking, and it's like, bro, let me fix your neck. The problem's in your shoulder. Let me fix it.
Yeah.
And I'll touch you, be like, oh my God, that's exactly where it is. How do you know? It's just experience. It's just from seeing people like, oh, people that look like this, the problem's here. And that's just from experience. I didn't learn that anywhere but experience. So how did that transcend to boxing? Oh, this guy has a weak lower back. I'm gonna punch him in the hips. I'm gonna make him have to duck a lot, so his lower back gets tired.
Yeah.
So it allows me to really pinpoint your weaknesses and expose them, so I can beat you up.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a balance between where, man, how you're a massage therapist and then you get in the ring.
Yeah.
But that's the balance, right?
Yes, sir.
Masculine and feminine, right? When I'm healing people, I'm on my feminine energy. I'm being nurturing.
Yeah.
When I'm fighting, I'm on the masculine energy. And it's that balance where I can go to both. Because balance, you know, when you're walking on a tightrope, you're going left to right to stay in the middle. You don't walk in the middle. So a lot of people, I'm gonna be a goody two shoes. But inside you have emotions that are not goody two shoes, and you don't express them. And that's when violent behaviors come about. You know, I'm always punching people, so I don't hold on to anything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and then, you know, I'm nurturing people, so I balance myself with healing
Yes, sir.
and hurting. But the people that are getting hurt, they volunteer for it. We both listen. We're gonna get in here, and we're gonna get hurt. But it's cool. And I think in Chip, once, you know, it was a while before we let the kids get in the ring.
Yeah.
And then at first they were getting in the ring with me. And once we started making physical contact, they changed. That's when they're like, coach. And now they want to be our friends. Now they open up. Why? Because they don't get hugs at home. Their dads ain't hugging them. Their moms ain't touching. So now, even though I'm punching them, they're getting affection.
Yeah.
And for me, that was this case. The women in my family are cold-blooded. Like, these women, they don't smile, they don't hug. To this day, hugging my mom it's like, it's weird, man.
No, I understand.
But everybody else hugs me except my mother and the women in my family. So for me, boxing was like, man, I get touched here. I didn't understand it but now I understand. So the moment we implemented boxing and we got physical, they changed with us. We created a bond because now there's energy being exchanged in a physical way. And for therapists like Jeff, they have all that red tape where you can't touch nobody.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to connect with somebody is to touch. We shake hands. I don't need you to talk to me. Everything I need to know about you is in that handshake.
Wow.
If you like me, if you don't like me, if we don't click, if anything is there. With a hug, I'm a hugger. If you have a problem hugging me, then what's your problem?
Hey, very true.
You got a problem?
Very true.
Because people don't want you to feel them. But I feel you even without touching you. But let's hug.
That's right.
Because I want you to feel that I have no problem with you. And sometimes when you do that, it's like, oh, so I don't have to be defensive with you.
Right.
And I think we need to bring that back. When we were young, yo, what's up, woman? We hug.
Right.
Now it's like,
Yep.
and they text each other, like sitting across from each other.
Very true, man. That's all very true. I think that's an important point to make. Is like you have to be as a mentor, just anyone in this work, you have to be willing to be okay with yourself before you can really start helping anybody else and even getting out here in this work. So, gentlemen, my goodness. What a show. I mean, I know that we have so much, there's so much more I would love to talk to you guys about that we haven't dived into, but
we'll have a sequel.
We are definitely going to have you guys back. I love what you guys are doing with Chip, the stuff you guys are doing in North Hudson, just being outside, getting to work with you guys. I would love our mentors to kind of meet, our mentees to kind of meet, have some collabo, so hopefully we can get that running down. I want you guys to take a look at your camera over there. Let the people know what you're up to, what you're doing, and where they can find you.
So I am located in West New York, 55th Street on Bergen Line. Right now, the gym is called the Ludus Magnus, but as of February next year, it's going to turn into Intuitive Serenity, which is like a temple, which has wellness, fitness, meditation, and life coaching. So we're going to be offering everything you need because it's not one thing. It's a totality of everything put together so that you could be your best.
And my organization is called OTW, Our Team Works, Inc., and we're located at 444 60th Street. Anything that has to do with mental health, even if you can't afford mental health, you can come to the office. My admins will be able to connect you, even with community resources that can help you. You could give us a call. Any mental health needs that you may have, give us a call. And when it comes to the kids, if you got youth, 13 to 17 years old, we have the boys group now. We're going to continue creating a girls group. If you have any youth that needs any type of leadership and direction, give us a call because we got that CHIP program.
Whew. All right, gentlemen. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Absolutely. You guys have been amazing. Love the work you guys are doing. Believe me, I have so much I want to talk about, but we're going to keep getting into it. I'm going to have you guys back. So if you guys out there loved what you heard, love what you saw, and you want to get in touch with all of them, we're going to have all the information in the description below. Be sure to follow them, follow with them. If you are in need of these services, please reach out. Like I said, it's a big community. We're here to help. We're here to love each other. We're here to do the work. And if you're interested in getting involved, please, we need more people out here. Believe me, it's a lot of work to be done. And we're going to keep grinding. So, gentlemen, thanks again for those tuning in. We thank you guys for tuning in as always. It's your boy Chris. And as always, peace and love. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.